Today I'm going to teach you how to carve your snowboard in 5 easy steps, but use the chapter markers down below to skip to a section that may be more useful to you. What's at stake if you don't learn how to carve? Well, number one, if you keep skidding, guess what? You're going to keep sliding off the side of the mountain. Number two, you're not going to be able to have enough speed to go up flat spots, and you're going to keep getting stuck, which is not that fun. And number three is you're going to be stuck at that beginner stages of being a snowboarder, and we all want to progress. And here's a fun fact: the better you are, the more fun you get to have. So I highly recommend you learn how to carve. But before we get into the 5 steps, first we got to discuss what a carve turn is. Essentially, your normal turn that you would first learn is called a skid turn. Super useful, but the carve turn is going to be your more advanced / next level style of turn. And that carve turn essentially is you're being able to slice the snow right behind you just like this. The cool part about a carve turn is that you're able to change directions, meaning I can go left, I can go right, while picking up speed or minimizing the speed loss. And one way to really know if you are doing a skidded turn versus carved turn is just the path that you leave behind. Skidded turn, nice wide path. Carved turn, pencil thin slice, as you see there. Now, before we get into our steps, I definitely recommend you find appropriate terrain. I am here on a busy run, so probably not the best. So I'm gonna find a spot off to the side that's safe. And today's video is sponsored by Insta360 X4. Now, this is my absolute go-to camera when I want to capture the most incredible views and adventures just like this. They have upgraded this camera to be a 8K sensor, which means it's going to be even better quality. So when you are sharing with your friends and family, that it's not grainy. It looks incredible. Plus, they've added a bigger battery, which I'm super excited about. And one other thing that I absolutely love about this camera is how practical it is. Now, check this out. It's cold out, I got gloves on, and I don't want to press the record button. Well, I can simply use a command that allows me to turn on and off this camera literally effortlessly. So if you're interested in picking up this Insta360 camera and getting some of the sickest shots alone, well, guess what? I'm gonna have a link down below that includes a free selfie stick that is invisible, as well as a snow bundle. So check out the link in the description and use that link to get some awesome stuff from your boy. Now, back to our video. Now let's jump into a static drill, and this is going to be our very first step. I made a mistake and I accidentally turned off the microphone, so we're going to do a nice little voiceover. But step number 1, we're going to become familiar with carving in a static position. But the best part is you can practice this on the hill, or even grab your snowboard and practice it at home. Start off with facing your chest uphill and your back foot just behind you on your heel side edge. Now, in this position, what I want you to do is press your shin to the front of the boot, allowing you to get tilt out of that snowboard. What you should feel is the edge is locked into the snow, and you can even move it side to side so you can feel the slicing movement, and that's essentially a carve. We're trying to find our balance position on that Toeside Carve. Now, when we turn the board flat, you're going to notice that that's going to be more of our skidded turn, and that's not what we're looking for, but I wanted to highlight the contrast between the two positions. Again, we're trying to slice the snow and press our shins to the front of our boot. When we are performing a carved turn, we are trying to balance our weight through the length of the edge, and we want to make sure our weight is even on the board. That's going to give us extra grip on the snow. So even though our legs are moving or we're doing all this other stuff, we have so much control and grip on the snow, it's going to make life a lot easier. Now let's focus on the heel side edge. Take your foot, extend it out in front of you, and place your heel side edge on the ground. Now, as you're in this position, I want you to move your foot back and forth so you can feel the edge engage and feel the slicing of the snow. Once you've done that, press your foot flat on the snow and feel this pivot movement, which is what we're not looking for. We are looking for this slicing, but I wanted to demonstrate the difference and for you to feel the difference. So when we move on, you totally make sense. If you want to add a little extra tilt, think about lifting your toe to the top of the boot, which is going to give you more grip and a sharper heel side carve turn. And as an absolute bonus trick, being able to strap in standing up is such a game changer, and you have to learn this. So let's break it down real quick. Essentially, you want to face uphill, take your heel side edge, and absolutely dig a nice little trench or platform on the ground, allowing you to literally put all your weight in that one foot and be able to balance. After that, point your toe down and move the binding straps out of the way without actually using your hands, and then strap in. And there you go. You literally stand up, strap in, and it's the coolest thing ever. Let's go. Now, part 2 of this exercise is you're gonna actually use the platform that you just created, and we're gonna focus on the actual body position for our carve, but notice that I have both feet strapped in. As I'm in this body position, I'm pressing equal pressure to the front of my boots. Notice here that I'm in a nice balanced position and my weight is even. Having your weight even through the length of the board is essentially makes that carve a lot easier. Now, my goal for you is to actually be able to balance for 5 to 10 seconds in this position on that toe side edge without falling over. So that's what I'm demonstrating here. And by practicing this position / holding it for 10 seconds, you're building the awareness. So when we go to the next step, you know exactly what you need to do. And if you're looking for a challenge, you can focus on looking over your left shoulder or your right shoulder, which essentially would practice carving switch or regular. Now it's time to repeat this step, but we're going to be focusing on our heel side edge. So what we're looking for is weight even between your lead foot and your back foot. And then I'm in a nice stacked neutral position, and I'm actually pressing my hips back as if I'm trying to sit down on a chair. This is going to allow me to get the board to tilt, which in turn allows me to carve, but you can also use your ankles by lifting up to the top of the boots and fine tuning how much tilt you have by doing that. Now, I do recommend that you have all 10 of your toes lifting up to the top of the boots evenly, allowing you to get just that extra bit of tilt, which will be very useful in the upcoming steps. Now, I would love to challenge you again to be holding this body position for 5 to 10 seconds and focus on just looking in the direction you're going, but not allowing that lead shoulder to rotate, just like this position here. Now it's time to progress from a static exercise to introducing a little bit of movement. And of course, we're going to do this as safe as possible. And the way to start that is by finding a green run just like this. Traditionally, your green circle is going to be a lot flatter, more likely to be groomed, and it's going to have a lot of people who are about your same level, but definitely keep your head on a swivel because people still fly by. And if you ever see me on the mountain, definitely say what's up. I'd love to give you a high five. Now let's get back to the carving nerd. Now there's going to be 2 different ways we can learn this. This first one is trying to find a large sweeping turn on a beginner hill, and then you're going to press your shins against the front of the boot, lean over, and try to find that balanced position. Now the best way to know if you're doing this correctly is you can look back uphill, and if you see a pencil thin line, then you know you're doing it correctly, as I'm doing here. But if I start to make some rotation, then I'm going back to that basic turn, which is that skidded turn, and that's not what we're looking for in this specific situation. Now you're going to notice that I'm going to lock that edge in, and I'm allowing both shins to press against the front of the boot, keeping the hips open, and I'm just looking where I'm going. Now I can lean into the turn a little bit more, and you'll notice that I turn a little bit more aggressively, and that's what we're looking for, is really trying to find the confidence and the trust to be able to balance on that edge. Now, method number 2 to learning your toe side edge is you're simply going to traverse across the hill. Notice that I'm doing the same carve, but I'm going from one side of the run to the other. Now, this one is definitely doable, but the biggest thing is you're going across the run, so you want to make sure you look uphill and make sure there's no traffic because you're essentially going across a road and people are going to be flying by, and I just want to make sure you're safe. But as an added bonus, you could practice this both in your dominant direction, and then here I am going switch, so I can practice my switch carving as a glorified falling leaf, meaning I'm just staying on my toe edge, whether I'm going right or left on the slope. And you're going to notice right there, I was able to turn back uphill. That allows me to slow down. And you can see my skidded mark right here that I was able to slow down just by breaking the edge or getting into a side slip. So this tactic of going across one way and coming back is super useful, especially if you're looking for a challenge. And I would definitely suggest that you practice this traverse or focusing on this Toeside Carve about 5 to 10 times across the hill on your dominant direction. And if you're doing it switch, double that number. I want you to be so comfortable and confident that you're able to truly balance on that edge and see back in the snow behind you that there's this absolute beautiful carve mark. Once you're feeling absolutely fantastic about your toe side edge, it's time to focus on your heel side. We're going to get back into that static position that we're all comfortable and familiar with I'm going to look uphill, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to start to engage that heel side edge, allowing that board to slice. I do look over my heel side shoulder just to make sure it's clear, and then I'm finding that slice by sitting back in the chair and lifting up my toes to the top of the boots equally. At any point you're skidding, it's because you have too much rotation of your shoulders. Your weight is not in the right position, it's not even, and you probably have too much weight on your lead foot. So practice this both on your heel side, regular, and if you're looking for a challenge, practice this on your heel side, switch. It's going to be pretty much a mirror image of everything that you just did. And be extremely cautious when working on your heel side edge. I struggled to find a good place in the slope because there's so many people and I'm not willing to endanger myself. So definitely find a slope that's going to be advantageous to this. And if you need to skid, if you need to slow down, if you need to wait, definitely do so. My secret to all this would be actually snowboarding in the morning and getting first chair. You're going to have better snow conditions. They're freshly groomed, less people, and you can have time to process without worrying about all these people. As some bonus material, try this drill. I am on a catwalk, which means it's very flat, narrow terrain. And notice that my board is pointed straight down the hill. I'm not doing those wide turns, but I'm more just going straight down the hill. Now, my goal is to be able to transition from a Heelside Carve to a Toeside Carve. So right now I'm actually slowing down, and then I'm going to start locking that heel side edge, and then I'm just going to roll and do a little bit to my toes. So I'm going to start my heels, really focus on the heels, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to go toes, heels, and then I'm going to lean over and go toes, and I'm going to go lean over, and notice that I'm not, oh, that guy just ate it, poor guy. But notice I'm not making these dramatic turns, but rather a gentle transition from Toeside Carve to Heelside Carve. This is also an extremely important thing to know, being able to make these gentle carves because you're going to allow yourself to keep up speed, especially on the flat section, as well as it's just a good way to practice it because some resorts have these massive long catwalks, and we might as well take advantage of that opportunity to practice some carve turns. Before moving on to the next step, I definitely recommend spend as much time as you need just feeling the edge, and you can even isolate it to do just one edge. You can just focus on the other edge. You can link them together. You could even go like, I'm going to hold this edge as long as I want. Okay, now I'm a little scared. I'm going to break that edge and I'm going to slow down. So spend as much time as you need getting comfortable just balancing on this edge and slicing the snow. Now it's time to start pushing the boundaries just a little bit, but we want to do this as safe as possible. So number one, find appropriate terrain. I've actually went to the beginner hill because there's gonna be like nobody going really fast, as well as the terrain's pretty mellow. So that's number one. Number two is we want to start getting a little bit more aggressive with our turns, because the ultimate goal is to be able to rip it up and feel really flowy. But to get there, we're going to do this next exercise. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this exercise is work on my toe side. I'm going to look around and I'm going to point my board down the hill. Now, the faster I go, the more I got to press my shins against the front of the boot, and the more I have to lean up. Now, my goal is to actually try to go up the hill. And notice that it's pretty mellow here, and that was relatively safe. At any point, if I felt like I need to slow down, scared or anything, you can always break the edge. And what I mean by that is I'm like gonna go carve, carve, carve. Okay, I'm a little scared. I'm gonna go into this skid and I can slow down. So absolutely no pressure to go super crazy. Once we become more confident, we're gonna do two things. One, we're gonna get lower. So I'm gonna pick up a little speed, sink my belly button down. I'm gonna get lower and I'm gonna lean in. You're gonna notice that I'm actually turning even faster up the hill. I'm gonna do one more time from the other angle just so that you can see it from behind. So now I'm going downhill, getting low, leaning, 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 leaning. I'm gonna lean. If I wanna lean more, I can lean more. And notice that I'm gonna get a sharper turn. This is gonna start building your awareness on how much can I really trust that edge? How do I stay balanced? And how much do I need to lean in? So if it's really fast and I'm not leaning in much, I'm just not gonna make a sharp turn. But if I can lean any more, that turn will change. So pretty cool, right? Being able to dictate how sharp that turn is. And I definitely suggest that you practice that toe side going uphill like literally like 6, 7, 8 times and really feel how you can trust it, but also add a different variable. Try to go a little faster, try to lean a little bit more, switch it up so that you can truly build that awareness. And I do like isolating just one turn so that my mind can just process one thing at a time. Now let's go up on the chairlift and we are going to do the heel side next. Now we're gonna do just our heel side edge. So I'm gonna set myself up on the right hand side over here. Make sure I'm not cutting anyone off. Now we're gonna go back into that really strong squat position. Everything that we've applied, we're just gonna be increasing how much speed we have as well as how much we lean into the hill, dictating how sharp that turn is. So getting right into it, looking around, board pointed straight down the hill, squat down, lean, look, lean. And as you know, special bonus, lift up your toes. It's gonna make this a lot easier, but I was able to manage the speed, did that. Pretty cool, right? Now to make this a little bit more awesome, we're gonna do the same thing as our toes. We're gonna get a little bit lower and see if we can be a little bit more aggressive. Gosh, I love this run because no one's here. So cool. That other run, not the move. I will admit that. So pointing our board straight down the hill, setting ourselves up with a little bit more speed, sinking down and leaning. Notice that I'm in a very balanced squat position. I am not rotating my shoulder. I'm just getting a nice line slice. Beautiful. Pretty cool, right? Now, the true challenge that we got to face here is linking them together. Now, I'm going to try to draw us a nice little picture here. We did see that we made a turn that goes back up the hill. Well, that's not super practical because we got to link our turns. Now we're going to try to do this. It's going to look like this. We're going to go like this. We're going to make a turn. We're going to try to go across and up just a tiny bit, but we're going to keep a little bit of momentum. And then we're going to go to our next turn. We're going to go up just a little bit, keep a little momentum, and make the next turn. So it does look like this. Starting on my heel side edge, I'm going to go heel side, go across. Notice that I'm slowing down. And now I'm going to go to my toes and do the same thing back on my toes, and we already know how to do that. I'm going to go up a little bit. Now I'm going to switch edges and go. Guess what? Holy cow. If you did that correctly, you've just linked some really awesome carve turns. But one thing a lot of people struggle with is transitioning from edge to edge. What that means is as I'm on my heels, I go to my toes. That can be really challenging. So one thing that I find that makes it a lot easier is I already told you to sink down during that turn. So if I'm sunken, if I'm already in a low body position, as I show you here, if I'm already low and I want to go to the next edge, I'll actually stand up, reduce that edge and that pressure, and then sink back down. By being able to stand up, you're actually putting less weight on the snowboard, making that edge a little bit easier to change. Another thing that's going to help is just make sure your lead hip, lead shoulder, and board are all pointed in the same direction. So as I'm going like here, and I want to go to the next one, it's not a big deal. But I'm going to show you what is not good, is I'm on the edge, right? Now watch, if my shoulder's here, notice that my board slips out from underneath me, because when you are carving, there's so much tension in the snow, because you're gripping it so well, that you can get away with a little bit bad shoulder form. But as you transition from that edge, you're now flat base, you're almost having no grip, and that makes things way harder. So make sure you're having everything lined up. Appreciate you. I'm out of here. Okay. Have a good day. So by doing those two things, which is making sure my shoulder's pointing in the right direction, and I just reduce that pressure, that edge change is going to be 10 times easier. And if you really want to lock in these carves, I would say spend about an hour and a half truly focusing on this video. Come back to it, replay spots, chapter markers down below, but spend about an hour and a half. Now, you're not going to get it 100% perfect, but you're going to be able to at least grasp a lot of the concepts. And I would say, just as a guess from my experience, maybe about 3 hours in total of actually just like doing this, you're going to have like a really good handle on this. So realistically, in a day, you're going to be able to get on that edge, feel good, and lock it in. And then the more you understand when to do it, where to do it, adding dynamic movements or being more aggressive, that experience is going to compile, and you're definitely going to be feeling pretty amazing, especially on those catwalks, because I know a lot of people, make sure I'm in the sun a little bit, I know a lot of people absolutely like struggle with the catwalks. So if you found this video to be super useful, definitely follow for more. Share this with a friend, because my goal is to make as many snowboarders as awesome as possible. And definitely check out the link in the bio if you're looking for a selfie stick, so you can literally see yourself snowboarding and you can share the experiences. I love this camera. So on that note, I appreciate you, love you, and I'll see you in the next video.